And welcome back to the ship here on Fox Sports Radio, KOKC 1540 AM. Have a very special guest on the line, all the way from New York City, from the New York Times, the sports columnist, Mr. William C. Rhoden. Mr. Rhoden, how are you this morning?
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. Well, first things first, because you've been in this game for such a very long time, at least 40 years by my calculations. You had a chance to meet with Muhammad Ali. Give me your overall thoughts and impression of him when you had a chance to meet him, and your thoughts of him throughout his life and career.
Yeah, I mean, I've met him. I think the very first time I met him in person, I was with Ebony Magazine, and a friend of mine, Greg Sims, who was a sports editor at Jet Magazine, had a great relationship with Ali. I mean, they were really friends. Ali would give him rides in his van, from Chicago to Cincinnati. And one day, Greg came upstairs to Ebony where I was sitting, and he said, "Hey, man, you want to go over to Ali's house?" And so I said, "Yeah." So we went over there, and I swear, man, I still haven't said a word. I just remember kind of standing in the kitchen, just dumbfounded, because I absolutely, I didn't know what to say. I was speechless, and that was kind of the last time that ever happened. And then after that, I covered, when I was with Ebony, I covered his last fight with Ken Norton in 1976 and all that. And then now and then I would be in his presence, but, by the time I really, got to know him, the Parkinson's had started to kick in, and the speech had become slurred. The last real time was at the Sydney Olympics, and I remember being for some reason I was in his hotel suite or something, and he was holding court, and I knew him, he knew me, but we were talking, and then he just stopped and he kind of whispered at that point. He said, "Well, what's your name?" So I told him my name, and he said, "No. That's your slave name. What's your real name?" And so I had to say, I kind of cracked up because I didn't crack up then, but it was just sort of a reminder. And it was a great reminder that no matter who you are, no matter what kind of New York Times reporter or whatever, you're still a black man in America, and whose name was taken away and identity was taken away. So don't you forget it. So anyway, those are the times. Then maybe once later, I was at the UN when he got a particular award. So it was those types of meetings. But I when he was at his heyday, the 1964 and 5 and 6 and all that, I was in high school, and basically his impact on me as a young black man was just more about him serving as an example politically of taking a stand, and once you take that stand, of principle, sticking with it. So those are sort of I think his greatest impact on me was, again, more sort of as an example of being a person who had a principle and stood up for it and stood by it.
Well, I appreciate knowing that. Now, this is Mr. William Rhoden from the New York Times, who will be on ESPN Sports Reporter on the Sports Reporter show tomorrow morning. So be sure to check your local listings and tune in. Now, Bill, let's move over to the NBA. Now, I know you got a chance to watch Game 6 Thursday night. Give me overall impressions of who you think will win Game 7 on tomorrow night, and the play of LeBron James, obviously going from Game 4 when they should have won the game at home and possibly could have won the championship by now, to now going Game 5 and Game 6, exploding for 41 points apiece in both games.
Yeah, well, I guess he must have gotten tired of hearing all the talk about he's lost a step, he was slipping. It's fun. I mean, I would like for Cleveland to win.
Me too.
Just because it's a better story. I mean, it's just that's how I approach things just probably for the past 30 years. What's the best story? And that's a great story to, remember when he came in the league, he said he wanted to be like Muhammad Ali and Warren Buffett. And I guess he's kind of achieving the Buffett thing. But in terms of Ali, and again, there's not going to be anyone like Ali, but I thought it would be symbolic. So, in a couple weeks after Ali's death, how great would it be for a guy who admired him to pick his team off the mat and go from 3-1, and basically, when Muhammad Ali was about to fight George Foreman, who at that time was just this overwhelming favorite to not just beat Ali, but to kill him. One of Ali's counselors told him something that I thought I always held a dear, but he told Ali, he said, you could sing and rhyme and do all that stuff and do the poetry, but there comes a point when you've got to go into the lion's den and snatch the meat out of the lion's jaw. If you try and fail, the people will still love you. But if you never even try, they'll never forgive you. And I see that with LeBron. I mean, you talk about the greatest, and last year I'm the greatest. And you can say all those things, but there comes a time when you have to remind people of how great you are. And that's, I think, what he's done. I think people forgot that at this era, there is no greater force in the team game of basketball than LeBron James. There's nobody who can singularly simply take over a game like him. I mean, everybody talk about Curry and Thompson, and they become a dollar. It's almost like you're saying, oh, no. I am the player of this generation. And that's what he's proven now. And frankly, I mean, there's nobody on the Warriors team, not Thompson or not
Curry or Green.
No, there's nobody who could defend him. And I think that if he gets any kind of help, if what's the guy's name?
Irving.
Man, I'm getting these things in. Well, yeah, Kyrie Irving or Kevin Love.
Yeah.
If those two guys come to play, if Love does anything, if he just does anything, and if Kyrie plays up to his potential, I really don't think that. And LeBron is once again a monster. I don't think there's any way that. I don't think there's any way, but I think that Cleveland will win, and they'll bring a championship back to Cleveland.
And then he'll be gone.
In '64. Having said all that, I mean, I think clearly Golden State is favored to win at home, but I'd like to see Cleveland win.
I got a couple minutes left before I let you go. ESPN this week they've shown O.J. Simpson Made in America. It's been 22 years since the tragic death of both Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. From what you've had a chance to see, give me your overall thoughts of what you think of the documentary and your perception of how they portrayed O.J. in the trial and things like that.
Well, we've seen a lot. I mean, I think it's ESPN does great stuff. The documentaries are great, and this is another. It's put together very well. So it's O.J. Simpson is just a very and again, I think you hit it right. I mean, two people lost their lives. Regardless of how there's still two people who lost their lives and two families that are still grieving. And I'm sure this documentary kind of opens up wounds. Mm-hmm. As terms of Simpson, I like, we talk about Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali never backed away from being black. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of person I respect and I admire. The black people who embrace being black, they revel in it, they love it. And again, that doesn't mean, because you love yourself and you love black people, it doesn't mean that you don't like anybody else. This means you love black people. And long ago, OJ backed away from that. He kind of embraced being this neutral Negro kind of person. So I lost some respect for him in that sense. So, and I kind of lost interest in anything that had to do with him, including this kind of documentary. So that's kind of where I am.
All right. Well, Mr. Rhoden, I definitely thank you for your time. Let people know how they can follow you on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that if you want to.
Facebook. Of course, my Twitter handle is WC Rhoden. That's Twitter. You could always get me through there. And Facebook, I guess you could, however you friend people on Facebook, you just friend me on Facebook.
No.
And I guess I'm not sure whatever, but I'm on Facebook, and I've actually been getting into Facebook Live. So if you friend me on Facebook, just say you heard me on your show and we want to be your friend, and I'll say fine.
All right. Now, hey, William C. Rhoden from the New York Times, the sports columnist who's been there since 1981. You can see him on ESPN tomorrow morning on the Sports Reporter. Mr. Rhoden, I know you got a busy day ahead of you, and I thank you for taking time out to talk to me and my audience this morning.
Hey, Darren, it's my pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a great day now. Keep it locked in here on the ship on Fox Sports Radio, KLKC